The cranberry sauce was still warm on my plate when my mother dropped the bomb that would shatter not just Christmas dinner, but everything I thought I knew about my family. "You need to move out," she said, her voice as casual as if she were asking me to pass the salt. I froze mid-bite, a piece of perfectly roasted turkey suspended on my fork halfway to my mouth. Around the table, time seemed to stop. My younger sister Emma's eyes went wide. My father kept his gaze fixed on his plate, suddenly fascinated by the pattern of gravy pooling around his mashed potatoes. And my grandmother, dear, sweet Grandma Rose, who'd flown in from Florida for the holidays, set down her wine glass with a soft clink that sounded like a gunshot in the sudden silence. "Really?" I finally managed, the word coming out strangled and small. Mom dabbed at the corners of her mouth with her cloth napkin, the red one with the embroidered holly leaves that she only brought out for Christmas. "Really?" she confirmed, meeting my eyes with a look I couldn't quite decipher. Was it determination, regret, or something else entirely? I was 26 years old, sitting in the dining room where I'd eaten thousands of meals, wearing the ridiculous Christmas sweater Emma had given me that morning, complete with a light-up Rudolph nose that kept flashing, and I was being evicted. On Christmas Day. Can we talk about this later?" I asked, glancing around at the faces I'd known my entire life. The ones who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The ones who were now studiously avoiding my gaze. "We've talked about it enough, Jake," Mom said, and there was an edge to her voice now, sharp as the carving knife still lying beside the turkey carcass. "Your father and I have decided. You have until the end of January." 5 weeks. She was giving me 5 weeks. I set down my fork, appetite vanished. The Christmas lights on the tree in the corner suddenly seemed too bright, too cheerful, mocking the darkness that was closing in around me. Bing Crosby crooned about white Christmases from the speaker system Dad had installed last year, and I wanted to throw something at it. "Why?" The question came out rower than I'd intended, and I hated how much I sounded like a child. But I needed to understand. I needed to know what I'd done to deserve this. Mom exchanged a look with Dad, one of those married couple telepathic conversations that happen in the space between heartbeats. Dad cleared his throat, finally looking up from his plate. "Son," he started, and I knew I was in trouble. He only called me son when things were serious. "You're 26 years old. You've been living at home since college graduation. It's time." "Time for what?" I shot back, feeling heat rising in my chest. "Time for you to kick me out on Christmas. Time to make me feel like a complete failure in front of everyone." "Jake," Grandma Rose's voice was soft but firm. She reached across the table and placed her weathered hand over mine. "Let your parents speak." I bit back the dozen angry retorts fighting to escape and forced myself to listen, even though every fiber of my being wanted to storm out of the room. But where would I go? This was my home. Or at least, it had been until approximately 3 minutes ago. "We're not trying to hurt you," Mom continued, and now I could hear the emotion creeping into her voice. Good. At least she felt something about destroying my life over Christmas dinner. "We're trying to help you. You've been stuck. Ever since graduation, you've been stuck in this house, in this life that isn't really yours. You work your remote job from your childhood bedroom, you eat dinner with us every night, you haven't dated anyone seriously in 2 years." "So this is about my dating life," I interrupted, incredulous. "You're kicking me out because I'm single." "It's not about your dating life," Dad said, his voice taking on that patient but exasperated tone he used when he thought I was being deliberately obtuse. "It's about your life, period. You're living in stasis, Jake. You're not moving forward. You're comfortable here, and that comfort is killing your potential." I looked at Emma, hopping for an ally, but she was studying her Brussels sprouts with intense concentration. Some sister she was. "When I was your age," Mom said, and I barely suppressed a groan. Here came the generational lecture. "I was married, had a baby," she gestured at me, "and was working 2 jobs to help your father get through grad school. We had our own place. It was tiny and the heat barely worked, and we ate ramen more nights than I care to remember, but it was ours. We were building something." "So because you struggled, I have to struggle too?" I asked. "That's the logic here. Life sucked for you, so it should suck for me." Life didn't suck for us, Dad said quietly, and something in his tone made me look at him, really look at him. There was sadness in his eyes, deep and old. Those were some of the best years of our lives. We were young and broke and everything was hard, but we were doing it together. We were figuring out who we were as people, as partners, as parents. You can't do that living in the bedroom you had in high school. I pay rent, I protested weakly. $400 a month, Mom countered. For a furnished room, all utilities included, plus meals. Jake, that's not real life. That's not preparing you for anything. The turkey on my plate had gone cold. The mashed potatoes had formed a skin. Everything looked exactly as it had 5 minutes ago, but nothing would ever be the same. So that's it, I asked, adding how my voice wavered. Decision made, no discussion. We've tried to discuss it, Mom said, and now she did sound sad, tired. We've been trying for months, Jake. Every time we bring up you getting your own place, you change the subject or make a joke or promise you'll start looking, but then you never do. Was that true? I ran back through recent conversations in my mind, trying to remember, but everything felt fuzzy and uncertain. Had they been trying to tell me this? Had I really been that oblivious? I just thought, I trailed off, not sure how to finish the sentence. I just thought what? That I could live here forever. That at 26, nearly 27, I could still be their kid, safe and protected from the harsh realities of the world. We love you, Mom said, and I could see tears gathering in her eyes now. We love you so much, sweetheart. That's why we have to do this. Because if we don't push you out of the nest, you'll never fly. What if I can't? The words came out before I could stop them, small and scared and honest. What if I can't do it on my own? The silence that followed was different from the one before. This one was heavy with understanding, with compassion, with the weight of every parent's fear that they might be doing the wrong thing. Then you'll figure it out, Dad said finally. That's what everyone does. You'll fall and scrape your knees and maybe even break your heart a few times, but you'll figure it out, and you'll be stronger for it. We'll help you, Mom added quickly. We're not abandoning you, Jake. We'll help you find a place, help you move, help you set up. But you need to take the lead. This needs to be your thing. Grandma Rose squeezed my hand. When I looked at her, she was smiling, but her eyes were misty. Your grandfather and I went through something similar with your mother, she said. She was 27 and still living at home, working at the library, dadding that awful boy. What was his name? Tom, Mom supplied, making a face. Tom, Grandma confirmed with disgust. We finally told her she had 6 months to get her life sorted or we were going to rent out her room to a stranger. She was furious, didn't speak to us for 2 weeks. I looked at Mom in surprise. I'd never heard this story. It was the kick in the pants I needed, Mom admitted. I was scared, terrified actually, but my parents were right. I was hiding at home, avoiding real life because it was easier. Once I moved out, everything changed. Within a year, I'd met your father, changed careers, and was actually living instead of just existing. But what if I'm not hiding? I asked. What if I'm just saving money, being smart about it? Dad raised an eyebrow. How much have you saved in the 4 years you've lived here? I opened my mouth to answer, then closed it again. The truth was uncomfortable. I made decent money at my remote software job, and yes, my expenses were minimal. I should have a small fortune saved by now. But I didn't. I had maybe $10,000 in savings, respectable, but not nearly what I could have accumulated. Where had all the money gone? Convenience. Complacency. Stupid purchases I didn't need because I had no real goals, no real plans, nothing I was working toward. I bought expensive coffee instead of making it at home. Ordered takeout constantly even though Mom cooked dinner. Subscribed to every streaming service. Bought gadgets and games and things that sat in my room gathering dust. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Oh, I said quietly. Yeah, Dad said, his expression softening. Oh. Emma finally looked up from her plate. For what it's worth, she said, and her voice was gentle in a way that made my eyes sting. I think you're going to be okay, better than okay. I think this might be the best thing that ever happens to you. Easy for you to say, I muttered. You're 19. You've got years before they kick you out. I'm moving into an apartment with 3 friends in February, she said, and my head snapped up in surprise. I've been working 2 jobs all semester to save up. Mom and Dad didn't make me, I wanted to. I'm excited about it. I stared at my little sister, when had she gotten so grown up, and felt another piece of my world shift beneath me. Emma was moving forward with her life. My parents had their own plans and dreams that apparently didn't include a perpetual man-child occupying the guest room. Everyone was moving, changing, evolving. Everyone except me. I don't know how to do this, I admitted, and saying it out loud felt both terrifying and strangely liberating. None of us did, Grandma Rose said. That's the secret, sweetheart. Nobody knows how to be a grown-up until they have no choice but to figure it out, and you will figure it out. End of January, I asked, looking at my parents. Mom nodded. End of January, but we meant what we said will help however we can, within reason. What does within reason mean? It means we'll help you look at apartments, maybe help with the deposit if you need it, Dad explained. It means you can come over for Sunday dinners and we'll still be here if you need advice or support. But it doesn't mean we'll bail you out every time you run short on rent or let you move back in if things get hard. You need to make this work, Jake. I nodded slowly, trying to let it all sink in. 5 weeks from now, I'd be living somewhere else, paying full rent, buying my own groceries, being an actual independent adult. The thought was equally thrilling and terrifying. Can we finish dinner now? Emma asked. The turkey's getting cold and I spent like 2 hours on that pie. Despite everything, the shock, the fear, the anger still simmering under my skin, I felt a laugh bubble up. Trust Emma to cut through the emotional chaos with practicality. Yeah, I said, picking up my fork again even though I wasn't sure I could eat. Let's finish dinner. The rest of the meal was quieter than usual, punctuated by careful small talk and determinedly cheerful comments about the food. But the elephant remained in the room, massive and unavoidable. Every bite of turkey tasted like uncertainty. Every sip of wine felt like liquid anxiety. After dinner, I helped clear the table in silence while everyone else migrated to the living room for the traditional Christmas movie marathon. I stood at the sink, mechanically rinsing plates and loading the dishwasher, while my mind raced. "Want to talk?" I turned to find Dad standing in the doorway, 2 mugs of coffee in his hands. He held one out to me, and I took it gratefully, wrapping my cold hands around the warm ceramic. I don't know what to say, I admitted. Then listen, he said, leaning against the counter. I know this feels harsh. I know the timing seems cruel. But your mother and I have been agonizing over this decision for months. We've had so many conversations, so many arguments about whether we were doing the right thing. And you decided that kicking me out on Christmas was the right thing. He had the grace to wince. The timing wasn't great, I'll give you that, but we were running out of time. The lease on this house ends in March. I nearly dropped my mug. What? We didn't want to tell you like this, but since everything's coming out anyway. He ran a hand through his graying hair. Your mom got offered a position at the hospital in Portland. It's a huge opportunity, department head, significant pay raise, the works. We've been waiting for something like this for years. Portland, that was across the country, 3,000 miles away. You're moving to Portland, I said flatly. We're seriously considering it. Emma's going to transfer to Portland State if we go. She's already been accepted for the fall semester. Does everyone know about this but me? We told Emma a few weeks ago. We wanted to tell you, but every time we tried to bring up the future, you'd shut down. And we realized that part of the problem is that we've made it too comfortable for you here. As long as this house exists as your safety net, you'll never leave it. I slumped against the counter, feeling like the ground had been pulled out from under me. My parents were moving across the country. My sister knew about it and was planning her own new life accordingly. And I'd been completely oblivious, playing video games in my childhood bedroom and thinking I had all the time in the world. I feel like an idiot, I said quietly. You're not an idiot, Dad said firmly. You're scared, and that's okay. Being scared is normal, but you can't let fear keep you from living your life. What if I fail? Then you fail, and then you get back up and try again. That's what life is, Jake. It's not about never falling down. It's about learning how to get back up. We stood in silence for a moment, sipping our coffee. From the living room, I could hear the opening credits of It's a Wonderful Life starting up, Grandma Rose's favorite. For what it's worth, Dad said, I think you're going to surprise yourself. You're smarter and more capable than you give yourself credit for. You just need to believe in yourself as much as we believe in you. You're really moving to Portland. Probably. Your mom has until mid-February to give them an answer. We'll know more in a few weeks. I nodded, processing this new information. Maybe this wasn't just about me needing to grow up. Maybe my parents needed to start the next chapter of their lives too, and they couldn't do that while still parenting an adult child. I'm sorry, I said suddenly, for making this so hard, for being so oblivious. Dad pulled me into a hug, the kind of dad hug that makes you feel like a kid again in the best possible way. You don't need to apologize for being human, son. We all get stuck sometimes. The important thing is recognizing it and being willing to change. When we pulled apart, I felt different somehow. Still scared, still uncertain, but maybe, just maybe, a tiny bit hopeful too. End of January, I said, more to myself than to him. End of January, he confirmed. You've got this. Part 2, reality sets in. The day after Christmas, I woke up with a hangover despite barely drinking and a sense of dread that sat in my stomach like a stone. My room looked the same as it always had. Star Wars posters from high school, gaming setup taking up half the space, laundry pile in the corner that I'd been meaning to deal with for weeks. But everything felt different now. This wasn't my room anymore. This was temporary housing with an expiration date. I pulled out my laptop and did what any millennial in crisis does. I started Googling. How much does it cost to live alone? Average rent near me. What do I need for an apartment? The numbers that came back made my blood run cold. The average one-bedroom apartment in our area was $1,500 a month. That was before utilities, internet, renters' insurance, groceries, and all the other expenses I'd never had to think about. I pulled up my banking app and looked at my actual financial situation with clear eyes for the first time in years. Monthly income after taxes, about $4,500. Current expenses, $400 for rent, $200 for car insurance, $150 for my car payment, about $300 on subscriptions and random purchases. That left, theoretically, $3,400 a month that should have been going into savings. So why did I only have $10,000 saved over 4 years? That should have been over $100,000. I pulled up my transaction history and started scrolling, my stomach churning as the truth revealed itself. $30 here for a lunch I didn't need. $80 there for a video game I played once. $500 on a new graphics card when my old one was fine. $2,000 on a vacation with friends where I'd put everything on my credit card to look generous and then paid it off over 6 months. Death by 1,000 cuts. That's what it was. I hadn't made any one catastrophically bad financial decision. I'd just made hundreds of small ones that added up to a mountain of wasted opportunity. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Marcus. Dude, did your parents seriously kick you out on Christmas? Emma told Sarah who told me. That's brutal. I stared at the message, then typed back. Yeah. End of January. I'm officially being evicted by my own family. 3 dots appeared immediately, then. Want to come over? We can day drink and play Call of Duty and pretend we're not adults. A week ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. That's what I'd been doing for 4 years, avoiding adult responsibilities by hiding in digital worlds and hanging out with friends who were equally directionless. But something had shifted. The comfortable numbness I'd been living in had cracked, and now I couldn't stop seeing all the ways I'd been failing myself. Rain check. Need to apartment hunt. Holy shit, are you being productive? On December 26th, are you feeling okay? I sent back a middle finger emoji and set down my phone. Marcus was a good friend, but he was also 30 years old and still living in his parents' basement, working part-time at a video game store, and talking about the novel he was going to write someday. I'd always thought we were in the same boat, just taking life at our own pace. Now I realized we weren't in a boat at all. We were treading water, slowly exhausting ourselves while pretending we were doing just fine. I opened a dozen tabs on various apartment listing sites and started scrolling. The results were depressing. Everything in my price range was either too far from work, despite working remotely. I still occasionally had to go into the office. Too small, did they seriously call that a kitchen? Or too sketchy, was that a bullet hole in the door? There was a knock on my door, and Emma poked her head in. "You alive in here?" "Barely. Come see the hellscape that is apartment hunting." She plopped down on my bed and looked over my shoulder at the screen. "Oh, yikes. That one looks like a crime scene." "Right. Is it too much to ask for a place that doesn't make me fear for my safety?" "You might need a roommate," Emma suggested. "That's what Sarah and I and the other girls are doing. We found a 4-bedroom for $2,400 total. It's actually pretty nice." I hadn't even considered a roommate. The idea of sharing space with someone after years of having my own room felt claustrophobic. But the math was undeniable. "I don't know anyone looking for a roommate," I said. "Then find someone. There are apps for that, Facebook groups. Craigslist, though that's mostly murders." Encouraging. She bumped my shoulder with hers. "For what it's worth, I think this is going to be good for you. You've been kind of stagnant. Like, I love you, but watching you live the same day over and over for the past 4 years has been sad." "Wow, tell me how you really feel." "I'm serious, Jake. You used to be fun. You used to have dreams and plans. Remember when you were going to start your own app development company? Remember when you were excited about things?" I did remember. Fresh out of college, I'd been full of ideas and energy. I was going to change the world, or at least make my mark on it. But somewhere along the way, that ambition had faded into comfortable complacency. The dreams got filed away under someday, and someday never came. "When did I become this person?" I asked quietly. "I don't know. Gradually, I think. It's like that quote about how bankruptcy happens, gradually, then suddenly. You just kind of faded, but you're not that guy anymore. As of yesterday, you're the guy who has to figure his shit out. That's something." "That's terrifying." "Yeah, but also kind of exciting. Like you get to reinvent yourself, start fresh, be whoever you want to be." I looked at my sister, when had she gotten so wise, and felt a surge of affection mixed with envy. She was younger but somehow had it more together than I did. "How'd you get so smart?" I asked. She grinned. "I learned from your mistakes." Ouch. "Also therapy. I've been seeing a counselor at school. You should try it." "Maybe I will." She stood up and headed for the door, then paused. "Jake, for real though, you're going to be okay. Better than okay. This time next year, you're going to look back and realize this was the best thing that ever happened to you." After she left, I sat with those words. This time next year, where would I be? Who would I be? The future that had always seemed so abstract and distant was suddenly very real and very close. I pulled up a fresh document and started making a list. What I need to do. Find an apartment with roommate. Budget properly for the first time in my adult life. Learn to cook actual meals. Set up utilities and all that adult stuff. Buy furniture. Figure out who I actually am without the safety net. The list felt overwhelming, but also strangely clarifying. These were concrete problems with concrete solutions. I could do concrete. I spent the rest of the day diving deep into research. I joined Facebook groups for people looking for roommates. I made a spreadsheet of all my actual expenses versus what they would be living alone. I watched YouTube videos about meal prep and budgeting and how to negotiate rent. I even started a list of neighborhoods I might want to live in, weighing factors like commute time, safety ratings, and proximity to things I actually cared about. By dinner time, my brain was fried, but I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Productive. Like I'd actually accomplished something real. Mom made pasta, my comfort food, and I knew it wasn't a coincidence. "How was your day?" she asked as we all sat down to eat. "Exhausting. Apartment hunting is its own special hell. But I think I might look for a roommate situation. It's just more financially sensible. That's very mature, Dad said, and I could hear the approval in his voice. It shouldn't have mattered. I was 26, not 12, but it did. I wanted them to see that I could do this, that they hadn't made a mistake by pushing me. There's a guy from my office, I said, the idea forming as I spoke. Connor. He mentioned a few months ago that his roommate was moving out and he was looking for someone. I don't know if he ever found anyone, but maybe I could ask. Do you know him well? Mom asked, her protective instincts kicking in. Well enough. We've gotten lunch a few times, done some happy hours with the team. He seems solid. Works in marketing, really into rock climbing, has a dog. A dog, Emma perked up. What kind of dog? Some kind of terrier mix, I think. Scruffy little thing named Potato. Potato, Emma repeated, delighted. That's an amazing dog name. You should reach out to him, Dad encouraged. Worst he can say is no. So after dinner, I pulled up Connor's contact info and stared at my phone for a solid 5 minutes before finally typing out a message. Hey Connor, hope you had a good Christmas. Random question, are you still looking for a roommate? Long story short, I need to find a place by end of January and thought I'd check. No worries if you already found someone. I hit send before I could overthink it, then immediately wanted to unsend it. What if it was weird? What if he thought I was desperate? What if? My phone buzzed. Dude, yes. I've been looking for months, but everyone who's responded has been weird or flaky. When can you come see the place? I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Tomorrow works for me. Perfect, 2 p.m. I'll send you the address. Just like that, I had an apartment viewing. Maybe this wouldn't be impossible after all. Part 3, New Beginnings. Connor's apartment was in a part of town I'd driven through countless times, but never really paid attention to. The building was old but well-maintained, with big windows and that pre-war charm that usually came with a price tag I couldn't afford. He buzzed me up, and I climbed 3 flights of stairs, mental note. This would be good exercise, but potentially terrible for furniture moving, before finding his door propped open. Music drifted out, something indie and folky that I vaguely recognized. Jake, Connor appeared in the doorway, Potato the dog circling his feet excitedly. He was dressed casually in joggers and a worn t-shirt from some 5K run, his light brown hair still damp from what I assumed was a shower. Come in, come in. Sorry about the mess, I wasn't expecting company today. The apartment wasn't messy at all, at least not by my standards. There was a climbing rope in the corner and some dishes in the sink, but everything else was relatively neat. The space was bigger than I'd expected. A real living room with actual furniture, an open kitchen with full-sized appliances, big windows letting in winter sunlight. So the situation is, Connor said, leading me down a hallway. My roommate Nick moved out in October to live with his girlfriend. I've been covering his half of rent, but it's killing me, so I've been pretty desperate to find someone. But everyone who's responded to my ads has been either super sketchy or wanted to pay like